Committee today, 16th of March 2026. Welcome to anyone joining us on YouTube. My name is Councillor Sue Camp. Public questions and Councillor Shay.
I'd like to be a member of the public and that's all much.
Yes, please do.
But I do want to say something before we start the meeting this evening. Linda didn't want us to make a fuss, but I think she might make a fuss. Last week, Linda was elected by her peers across the world as the next Vice President and future President of the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. It's the first time in 75 years' history of that organisation that anyone's been elected to the role from outside of North America, where the Institute is based. She's been a board member for several years, representing the organisation's region, which represents clerks from Europe to Australia and everywhere in between. Linda's been playing down her chances of success over the last few weeks when I've been talking to her, but with her years as director and former president of the Society of Local Council Clerks here in the UK, and her many other accomplishments, it came as little surprise to me that she was elected. Clerk colleagues have said that her achievement is genuinely historic and a moment of great pride for the sector. They've described her as a true advocate and champion for clerks across the world, and I think we should recognise that. Linda, thank you for all that you do for this council and for your local council clerk colleagues across the UK, now and across the world. Please for the sorry, it's not a very exciting occasion, and a little something to wash down the embarrassment.
That's great. That's a historic moment and needs to be recognised. Well done. Congratulations from all of us. Right, moving on to more mundane matters. The agenda. Apology classes.
Councillor Barley, Councillor Daniel, Councillor Gandel, and Councillor Duff.
Requests for legal exemptions. Declarations of interest.
I need to declare an interest in the items 3 and 4 of the planning applications for us. It would be 3A St John's Hill is the other half of the house in China.
Okay.
And I assume you to declare the same it's my house as well.
All right, noted. Minutes. To receive and agree the minutes from the Planning and Environment Committee held on the 2nd of March 2026. That's pages 7 to 15. Any comments or debate on any of those? Can we vote to agree the minutes? Thank you. Thank you. Carried. And now, because we have a speaker, we will pull forward plans 3 and 4. Councillor Dixon, before I adjourn the meeting for our speaker, could you tell us about those plans?
Yes, indeed, Chair. So we had an application at the very end of last year for an extension of the back of 3A St John's Hill. This is part of a semi-detached property. The whole thing, so both cars are listed, and we earlier recommended refusal of this and requested some more information, and the current plans address that request for more information in the architects of 3A Yapton had submitted an updated drawing, and there had also been some discussions between the residents of 3 and 3A, so the adjoining neighbours, and the written representation that I think, Chair, you're going to read out only arrived sometime late this afternoon, so it's been at the very far end of the process, so not many people have had a chance to consider it in detail. So that's where we stand. So you've submitted a new drawing and an explanation of how they hope to have met everybody's concerns.
Okay, so can I ask very simply, what's the difference between the last or the first application and this amended one?
The amended one included, was simply the inclusion of a drawing of the southern elevation,
Oh, right.
which made various contentions about the situation. And as I looked at it, a bit difficult to read the dimensions involved. So they submitted that, but then separate to that, there's been discussions between the neighbours, which resulted in some of the things referred to in this submission they made this afternoon.
Okay. All right, well, we'll come back for further details afterwards. So I will adjourn the meeting and allow our speaker, Mr. Skinner. You've got 3 minutes.
So, obviously I'm speaking as a public. Two things. We've had good conversations with our neighbours about all of this, and I think it's all moving in the right direction. But I think there are 2 points which are still outstanding. The first is I would like very much for there to be a decision by the planning officer as to whether or not the proposed increase affects our amenity, and whether or not the 45% rule should be disallowed as the open architect, so as the architects are claiming. They're saying that the 45%, there are 2 45% rules, we know degree. I apologise. 45-degree rule. So the perpendicular 45-degree rule, so the direct 45-degree rule will not apply, but the perpendicular 45-degree rule would apply. I think the architects claim that the room where it's to which it would apply is a corridor, despite the fact that I've been sitting there and reading in it for the last 30 years. But so they claim that it's not a habitable room. That said, I'm quite happy to be driven by the judgment of the planning officer, but I think it should be the planning officer to determine whether or not the community has been affected. The second point is I'd like some certainty on this. I would like to know how high the building is going to be. The applicants have not been able to have so far not given a precise height as to of the increase. We had some useful conversations and they agreed to reduce the height of their initial proposal. And I'm happy to see an increase. I would simply like that increase to be clear, not to be an approximately or best endeavours or something. I'd like it to be very clearly stated that the maximum height will be whatever it would be. So I'd like some certainty on that. That's it.
Thank you very much, Miss David Skinner. You're now leaving.
I'm now leaving the room.
You're now leaving the room.
That is Councillor
And Councillor from leaving the room. I'll reconvene the meeting. And I will read the representation from Open Architecture. So this is the re-extension of 3 St John's, dear member of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to address the committee. They were notified late and unfortunately couldn't come to the meeting. The proposed single-storey re-extension to 3 St John's Hill has been carefully designed to respect the scale, proportions and height of the existing building in accordance with Sevenoaks District Council's adopted residential extension supplementary planning document, that's the SPD. Since the meeting of the 2nd of February, 2 things have occurred to further address matters raised by the Town Council and the neighbour. Drawing P451 was issued to the Planning Department on the 24th of February, showing the elevation from the neighbour's side of the party wall and noting relevant points in relation to the 45-degree rule. This was issued to satisfy requests by the Town Council at their earlier meeting and listed in their meeting report. The drawing P451 was on the 6th of March. On the 6th of March, the client, the agent and the neighbour met at the neighbour's property to discuss the scheme and agree some items raised by the neighbour. And the presentation wants to draw the committee's attention to the following points. The height. Summary of the SPD in relation to the rear extension states, in the case of semi-detached short terrace houses, rear extension should not normally exceed, in the case of single-storey development, 4 metres in height. The proposed extension has a partially raised roof height of 3.65 metres, which is below the SPD guideline. The area of the roof immediately adjacent to a neighbouring property has a roof height of 3 metres, which is the same as the existing extension roof height. This is also true of the extension roof height to the area that extends beyond the existing footprint. The existing rear extension is approximately 3 metres above ground level. The proposed partial increase of around 650 millimetres is necessary to accommodate modern insulation standards within the roof structure and appropriate parapet height. At the meeting of the 6th of March, Open Architecture stated best endeavours would be done to minimise the depth of the roof build-up in the new extension. However, this would be subject to design detail. Structural engineering input and agreement through the Party Wall Act. The processes provided the Party Wall Act enable the neighbour to review and influence the process of the design in relation to the party wall and provide internal ceiling heights that better reflect the proportions of the original Georgian building. At the meeting of the 6th of March, the neighbour and client agreed a ceiling height for the new extension of approximately 6 inches lower than the existing Georgian ceilings. This would equate to proposed ceiling height of approximately 3.4 metres for the proposed ceiling. The extension remains clearly subservient to the host building and neighbouring property. The second item is the footprint and massing. This was not contested at the previous town council meeting. The footprint of the proposed extension largely follows that of the existing extension and garage. There is a modest increase of approximately 1.4 metres, which extends away from the neighbouring property. This increase allows for a logical continuation of the original entrance corridor into the new space, significantly improving internal circulation and connectivity while maintaining a restrained external form. The third item was daylight and outlook and views. The proposal is single storey and complies with 45-degree rule. It is noted that the height of the party wall with the addition is less than the width of the neighbour's courtyard and therefore satisfies the 45-degree rule with regard to the windows in the habitable room opposite. The oblique windows to the side of the courtyard are to a circulation corridor with occasional seating and not a habitable room. Also, these windows are oblique and perpendicular to the party wall. The party wall height is only increased on the latter 2/3 of the party wall away from the main house. As 3A lies north of the neighbouring property, the development will not result in overshadowing. Any views of the downs from the neighbouring property are not normally affected. Existing oblique views would only be available from the first or second floors. The proposed extension height is well below typical first floor eye level and therefore will not obstruct distant views. In any event, views are already filtered by mature trees and a raised large apartment development to the rear. The final point, the party wall. The existing party wall will be retained and protected during construction, including any decorative features such as murals. We previously stated that approximately 650 millimetres will be added to the top of the wall using materials chosen to match the existing. Further to the meeting at the neighbour's property on the 6th of March, it is now our expectation to increase the far end height of the party wall by less than the amount previously stated. Given the client and neighbour have agreed to a reduction in the ceiling height to approximately 2.4 metres, and our endeavours to reduce the depth of the roof construction while still satisfying structural engineering requirements and building regulation compliance, we now envisage the increase in height would be approximately 400 to 500 millimetres above the height of existing top of the party wall. All works affecting the party wall can be undertaken in accordance with the Party Wall Act under a party wall award with the conclusion. The proposed extension is modest in scale, compliant with adopted guidance and carefully designed to minimise impact on neighbouring amenity while enhancing the functionality of the property. Since the earlier Town Council planning meeting on the 2nd of February, the client has addressed the concerns of the council and negotiated with their neighbour to achieve a result that satisfies the concerns of the council and addresses the neighbour's issues directly. We therefore respectfully request that the committee supports the application. So, that is from Open Architecture. I'll reconvene and come back to you.
Right, okay, thank you, Jen, thank you for reading out that, long and very detailed, paper, which clearly now everybody is fully appraised of all the facts. I think it's a bit difficult though to where to dive into this. All the comments you see that I made, my comments on the recommendations were written before this document could be seen by myself, or I think anybody else. So that has kind of gone beyond what I have written. But I think maybe the best way to tackle it is to look at their document that's just been read out, and reduce the complexity a bit and come to the key issues. Some of the parts of this are not contentious and irrelevant. They're not wrong, they're just irrelevant to the main concerns, which is about the height of the southern boundary of the new property, how high that will be above the neighbouring property number 3A. In this paper, there's various talks about changes in ceiling height in some places and roof height in other places. They're obviously not the same thing. And the only sensible way, or the only way it affects the neighbours, is the roof height. They couldn't care less where the ceiling is. So forget anything about ceiling heights. It's only how it ends up being turned into a roof height. So I think there are only two contentious points. So if you come, which are listed under height, 2 footprint and massing, no concerns there, that wasn't ever raised. And in section 3, daylight outlook and views, the first bullet point of 3 about the 45-degree rule is relevant. All the rest again is not contested or contentious. And then section 4, they talk about the party wall and the Party Wall Act. I must admit, I'd never heard of the Party Wall Act before I got this piece of paper, so I don't really know anything about it or how that may impact on matters. So other people may be wiser than I. So I think the two contentious points are the ones that the speaker spoke of earlier. One is how actually much higher is this boundary going to be. The architects have said they will reduce it. It was going to go up by 0.65 of a metre. And in here, where they say it, I think it is in, at the end of the blue section of 4, Party Wall, it talks about we now implement the increasing height would be approximately 400 to 500 millimetres, so 0.4 to 0.5 a metre above the height of the existing top of the party wall. Now, they've given a range, and then they say approximately. So, if you're looking at it from the worst case scenario, you look at the top end of the range, and what is approximately close to that? They started on 650. You can imagine it could be possible to make a very small reduction, if at all, and say, well, design constraints, etc. We've got approximately close. So I think one of the things for clarity would be not to have this range and then approximately attached to it. We haven't seen revised drawings with exact measurements, which I guess one would need on this. If I continue, I'll lose my train of thought. So I think in any recommendation, I would want to go for a bit of clarity and drawing that is clear as to what the height is. The second point of contention is this thing about 45-degree rule. There's 2 sets of windows. One, there's no discussion about. The only other one is to what they refer to as a circulation corridor. I, in my notes, refer to it as a gallery room. It has a table and chairs in it, and as the neighbour mentioned earlier, he's been sitting in it for 30 years. So the question of what defines a habitable room is something that maybe the planning officer needs to decide for herself. Because they say that it's a room that's only occasionally sat in, well, most rooms are only occasionally sat in, so, it's coming a bit back, the angels dance on the hair of a pin. But as a result, they say they've met the 45-degree rule, but nobody's actually done any measurements regarding this corridor, and nobody's defined, they contend it's not habitable. But what is habitable, I'm not sure how rigorous the definition is. So those are the two things really. I suppose I'd like to see a proper 45-degree test done on that room or not room, and the planning officer to make up their mind.
So do you have a recommendation?
I was looking back that before this latest document came in, my recommendation read, the right one. It continued to recommend refusal, unless the planning officer is satisfied that the amenity and right to life of number 3 are not significantly impacted by the raised height of the new extension, and that the proposals pass the 45-degree test with regard to the gallery room, which the applicant's architects have unilaterally judged is not a habitable room, despite containing tables and chairs. So that was my original recommendation, with an informative that we understood that modified plans were being prepared that will lower the roof and hopefully resolve the situation. And so this is part of that happening, so that's good. But we don't actually have the final plans. So maybe I would alter my recommendation to say that we recommend, let's say, stick with refusal at the moment, unless the planning officer is has seen the new plans in detail, and that, for instance, the
I think
increase in height is no more than 0.4 of a metre, a specific boundary,
Okay,
and that she should define whether a 45-degree test is appropriate for the corridor / gallery.
I think the original recommendation, without being too waffly on all the rest. Do we have a seconder, and then we'll throw it into debate? Okay, thank you. Councillor Clayton.
Could I ask Geordie to put up the diagram, because there is a plan on the website, on the District Council portal now, which was supplied in response to the requests we made in our early recommendation. It's a plan which arrived about a week ago.
Yes, I've seen that.
Right, but that is the plan. That
No, they're doing what?
another one.
Yes. Yeah, 650.
It's but it looks.
And now they're saying it's approximately 400 to 500, which is
Yeah.
approximately, we need an informative to say we need clarification on 400 to 600 or 400 to 500 or whatever it is not acceptable. We need to know what it is
I
going
think
to
we
be.
need to say that the plan that is on the portal at the moment, which is all we've got to look at, is too high. But it clearly is. It's looks like more like near a metre. Frankly.
Yeah. Okay, we've got some hands around the table. Councillor O'Hara.
That's all.
Well, I'm a little bit surprised that their architects can decide whether a room is habitable or not habitable. Surely it's up to the owner of that property to say whether it's habitable. I mean, it's ridiculous.
As he did earlier.
As you did earlier,
Yes.
yes.
The other thing, I mean, this kind of implies that on this wall here, sorry, there are no actually windows. I mean, it's mainly glass. This elevation of 3 of the neighbour's property. So they didn't bother to do a 45-degree test because they said, well, it's not relevant. Whereas the neighbours have put in a comment on the planning application and said, well, it is very much relevant because it's a room and we use it quite a lot. And so now, since this, Councillor Clayton, they're now talking of that, which I think was 650, being down to this 400 to 500.
But we don't have a plan of the.
We don't have, because it's so recent, they couldn't even get their letter in and couldn't attend this meeting because it's all happened very recently.
Okay, so we have to judge by what's in front of us and what we can see. Councillor Willis?
Can this whole thing not just be pushed back until it's clear how high the building is?
We,
I mean,
we,
spent 20
we have
minutes
to-
talking about something we don't even
we
know
have
what
to
how tall it
comment.
is.
because we have a deadline,
Yeah,
so we have to comment.
Yeah, but
How
our
we-
comment can be, surely we.
No, we have to make we have to make a recommendation like we normally do, and whatever we say, the planning officer looks at all the comments that come in from people who've made representation, and she will then, or he, whoever it is, will go back to the applicant and try and address the issues that we've raised. And if we are saying that the plans we've got do not mirror what has been stated, then we need to have the correct plan. And until we do, we have to judge on what we can see,
Yeah.
which is what councillor Clayton has said is on the portal, and what we can see in front of us here. A dotted line that may or may not happen is not something that we can judge on. Councillor
I'm
McLaren?
just going to say, I think quite a lot about this application feels very like they're trying to get some, it's not habitable. It's maybe between 400 and 600. It's all very vague.
Yeah,
and
it has
it's
to be
very
exact.
subjective.
Mm.
And I think it feels to me a bit not right.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
Mm.
we need, if we're commenting, we need the right details, and so far, we haven't had the right details. So I think the recommendation that you make is fair. With an informative that we don't have accurate plans that show, they've stated 400 to 500 or whatever the millimeters were, but that's in the that is the informative. We haven't had plans that show this, and it's too vague. We need to have accurate plans showing what the proposal is so that we can make proper comment. And until we do, the recommendation stands that what we see is recommend refusal.
Good. I wonder, Chair, if we change the unless part to say unless the increase in the roof height is no more than X.
No, it's not for us to say.
Not for us to say.
It
Okay.
is us to say what you've said. It is down to the planning officer to judge. None of us here can be a judge of the 45-degree angle or whatever. None of us are here to say whether a room is habitable or not. The person who has been consulted next door has said, actually, that's a habitable room. So we'll go back and say that to the planning officer, and therefore, the applicant has said that it's just a corridor will be questioned. But irrespective of that.
In criticism of my own recommendation, maybe the second bullet point there should not be that the proposal pass the 45-degree light test. It's that the planning office should
Is
decide
satisfied.
whether it
Is
needs.
satisfied that it passes, provided the planning officer is satisfied, unless the planning officer is satisfied that it passes. Just it's down to the planning officer. Yes,
Sorry,
Councillor
Chair, is it not possible we can word it so that we say unless we have a clear guideline from the architects, the height, we cannot possibly make a decision.
That's in the informative. We
Yeah.
have put that in the
Yeah.
informative that the plans that we have, we can't work on. It's
The
nothing
unknown.
less than that.
We can't
We
work on
need
the
to have
unknown.
accurate plans that state it's going to be raised by X amount, not it's between 4 and 5.
Would it be a bit over egging it, so we don't appreciate being told what is habitable and what's not?
Well, I don't know, it's their opinion, so.
Yeah,
fair
but
enough,
it's their
I mean,
opinion, I mean,
Doesn't mean
it-
it's right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's their opinion, so we're not here to get into domestic,
No.
disputes, if that's the right word, whether it's a room habitable or not. We're just here to say, what do we think about that? And at the moment, what we thought originally hasn't been changed because we haven't had sufficient information. And we need sufficient information, so until we get it, the original recommendation stands, which is what you said. Okay, I think we've got, yes? Councillor Shay? Yeah, no? All right, if there's no further debate, we will vote on that then, please. All in favour? Thank you. Against? No one. Good. Thank you. Could someone retrieve our colleagues from outside? Thank you very much.
And obviously, 4 is the same application
Yeah.
as 3, so.
Done two together, yeah, because one's a listed building, consent, so they have to do the both. Right, so we're back onto the agenda, now we have our colleagues back, thank you very much. Item 5 is the Seven Oaks District Council update on its local plan consultation. To receive notice that SNC has published a high-level analysis of responses received to its Regulation 18 local plan public consultation. To note that a consultation summary report as well as response analysis reports for the proposed policies and allocations are available by the agenda papers for Seven Oaks District Council Development and Infrastructure Advisory Committee held on the 5th of March, or directly via below link. These reports include any proposed action to be considered in response to the comments as provided by the planning policy team. There is a link shown there. Item 6, Development Management Committee, pages 17 to 18, received notice the below application is due to be discussed. Actually, it was discussed. 26 Fine Court Road. Councillor Clayton went and spoke. Do you want to say something, Councillor Clayton?
Wait, previous item. Consultation on the. Well,
Yeah,
I know we were looking over it.
yes, we are.
And I think the development, infrastructure advisory committee was only committed to maybe, despite
Yes,
the
I
fact,
know.
despite the fact that members thought that was outrageous.
Yes.
And I think we should be more demoted. And I think we'd be quite justified in doing more than noting it,
Mm.
because if you think we can compare it away on page 92, that 75% of people who responded to the local plan consultation rejected it. And that doesn't seem to have featured anywhere in the discussion.
Would you like to propose something?
Well, I think we should note that.
Propose we write?
Well, I don't know quite what I did, but I would like to propose that we are concerned that the consultation on the Seven Oaks District Local Plan demonstrated strong public opposition to the plan as it stands.
Okay, but what can we do about that? Right? Yes.
So, did it, I'm afraid I haven't looked through this, did it provide, comments about the proposals inside the plan? And do we know the numbers of people who objected to proposals that would affect the town?
There was, I think, a fairly strong opposition to the original the Green Park.
George?
And it's the suspension.
There were three different reports, one of them which was on the policies and one was on the allocations and one on the evidence base. The allocations one there was a surprisingly low number of responses to a lot of the proposed allocations. I only looked at the Seven Oaks Town ones. The Dunton Green Otford Seven Oaks one had over 250, I think it was. The main thing that I noticed about the three reports, although I only looked at the allocations and policies ones because we didn't really go on to the evidence base, is the allocations report provided a summary of what the responses and the comments were for each of the proposed allocations, and then that's it. The policies report provided a summary of the responses to each policy, including saying what the key stakeholders had said, and then also providing a response from the planning officer, which set out how they're going to respond to the comments. And most of the policies where they've gone into detail about what had been said captured what Seven Oaks Town Council had responded and asked for. In the officer responses, it was they would either list all of them and say we will consider this, or just more generically said we will consider the responses rather than listing what the main points were and then responding. So the main difference is that the allocations, there's no indication of what the next steps are. Are they going to consider responding to density and height concerns? Whereas the policies one sort of laid out how they're going to consider and what they're going to do, even if it's just we will consider rather than we will amend.
Councillor Shay.
Very brief addition to the excellent summary that Georgie was made there is that
yes, I agree though, the area around Northern Sevenoaks, Dunton Green, North Nature Reserve did have a strong response, and that was noted and analysed. The other one which had an even stronger response was the Britson's Lane site, which had a very strong level of response recorded against it. So I think it demonstrates that when communities united around something, they can make their voice heard. But as Georgie says, you don't know what the action will be next. We won't know until we see the next iteration. According to the process set out with the district council, which is problematic because it doesn't really engage with residents except in this very binary of way of do you love our plan or don't you? And that's, for me, that is remains problematic, that it's not truly consultative and ground up.
Okay, so how do we, Councillor Clayton, coming back to you, do you, I mean, if you don't want us to just note it, which is what we're meant to do you want to propose some kind of response?
Probably a response should come from one of the people who was very frustrated at the DIAC meeting the other night. And I think there are a couple of people here who were in that position. But I just think it needs somewhere to be formally reported and recorded somewhere in a minute. It wouldn't happen at the district council.
No.
But there is strong local opposition to this local plan.
Councillor Skinner.
Can I suggest that we write to the district council saying that we discuss, we noted the consultation, we discuss the content, and we note the very strong views of the residents of town to the various proposals, and we look forward to understanding how the district council will address these
concerns.
And then that would then also give us the platform for a press release should we wish to make it.
I mean, it's particularly the proposal which infringed the green belt. I know some of those are in my ward. It includes the Knoll golf club theme.
Yeah.
Some of them are in North and some of them are in Killington.
Let's do that then, because otherwise we just note it, so we need to do something. So we have a proposal by Councillor Skinner, which I'm sure in a second. Right, so if there's no further debate, let's vote on that. Thank you. Yes, great, lovely, thank you, Harry. So moving on, I'm coming to you again, Councillor Clayton. I started to say the DMC was 26 Vinecourt Road.
Yeah, we lost.
I know, I was there.
Yeah, it's just what I was particularly disappointed in, and I will be writing to the chairman of DMC. I think probably to the council lawyer about the gut information which was sent to the committee by the planning officer, and there were 2 or 3 statements which were made as statements of facts which were not true. One was about status of the tree calculation had been wrong. They'd been done wrong, not in the way that the planning officer suggested, but he'd actually underscore 2 that there is a policy in the conservation area medical plan that the gaps between the housing should be preserved. And Councillor Herbert said on the night to break that principle for a house might be arguable. To break it for a garage that is bigger than a house isn't certainly not sustainable development in any sense of the word. So those are the 2 main points that I think
It was tricky.
It was tricky, but I think it was badly done. To figure out how we protect our conservation areas.
I think there's a lesson to be learned there as well, that if there's any trees that aren't TPO'd in a conservation area, we need to be looking at putting TPOs on them, because for those who are not quite familiar with this application, it's a large extension going to the side, which is filling the gap and going right up to a metre of the boundary, and it's 19 metres in length, if I recall, because I was there. And it encompasses taking out, because they want to put a basement in this garage. It encompasses, obviously, there's 3 trees which obviously have to go. They're all listed. Or no, they're not listed. but they're in the conservation area. There were 2 lines,
One of them is very expensive.
yeah, at the back.
One of the back,
Well,
actually, you can see it from the
you
road.
can see it from the road, exactly, you can see it from the road. It's huge.
Let's say this week.
So,
Heartbreaking.
it was heartbreaking.
Favourite tree.
Oh.
So, anyway, so I think we need to be looking to see, if there'd been a TPR tree, it would have been, we would have had more.
Well, they would have, and they could have, below the garage, and this is,
They could,
but that's what the neighbours did, that specifically at the request of the people who lived in the.
no.
That's it.
So anyway, that's why it's happening, I think mainly because they have a basement, that's why. So anyway, sadly, or whatever way, so
Can we note with regret?
yes, note with regret. As the informative says, unacceptable loss of mature magnolia tree which contributes significantly to the character of the area of the street scene.
Who's going to send the letter to the, you're going to do it?
No, I did it, I remember, well,
Anyway, the full documentation on that can be seen on the portal and also it'll be on the YouTube. You can tune in and see that. Item 7, confirmation of a new tree preservation order, which was 26 Granville Road. To receive notice that the below TPO, which the town council received initial notification for on the 19th of January, was confirmed without modification by Seven Oaks District Council's Development Management Committee on the 19th of February. So that's a pine tree within the front garden of 26 Granville Road. So we need to do it elsewhere if we think they're, of importance. Item 8, KCC has made Amendment 1 traffic movements order, pages 21-27. To receive notice that KCC has made documents for its previously proposed order for Amendment 1, a traffic movements order between London Road and Robbins Way. The effect of the order is to remove the cycle prohibition from the footpath from its junction with London Road to its junction with Robbins Way.
Chair, I'll
Yes.
Speak on that very briefly. I'm cautiously optimistic about this. This is a missing link in the east-west cycle route through Northern Ward from London Road. It's the footpath that goes underneath the railway bridge from London Road to Robbins Way, which is meant to be widened and made into a bridle way. The fact that they've done this suggests they might have finally resolved the legal issues that it's taken them a year or more so far to try and resolve. And I know it's something Councillor Dixon's been chasing as have I. So hopefully we might actually see this thing widened and capable of being cycled down without being thrown off by a tree route before long.
Yeah,
Sounds
it's
good.
interesting, they took the signs down saying cycling prohibited some month or two ago. And yet this is only just happening.
Okay, right, moving on. Thank you for that, Councillor Shay. Item 9, KCC has made Amendment 10, a weighting restrictions order, Dartford Road. Pages 29-35 to receive notice that KCC has made documents for its previously proposed order for Amendment 10, a weighting restrictions order on Dartford Road. The effect of the order is to replace the yellow line weighting restriction with a zebra crossing. On the 28th of July, the Planning and Environment Committee resolved to write to support of the order and its design as well as to request its timely delivery and they haven't, okay, well, oh dear. Item 10, KCC has made Amendment 15, awaiting restrictions order Bradbourne Vale Road, pages 37-43. Received notice, KCC has made documents to its previously proposed order for Amendment 15, awaiting restrictions order on Bradbourne Vale Road. This was previously advertised under Amendment 58, with the effect of the order being to install or amend weighting restrictions to facilitate the east to west cycling route. On the 20th of May, informative, the Planning Committee resolved to respond to the proposed order in tandem with a response to the east to west cycling route consultation. This included a request for the proposed informal crossing between the pavement and a floating parking lane be extended across the carriageway to provide an essential link for residents. Item 11, again, KCC, proposed amendment 16, awaiting restrictions order, pages 45-49. Received notice that KCC has published deposit documents for its proposed order for amendment 16, awaiting restrictions order on Filmer Lane. This proposes to install double lines on the west side from a point 17.5 metres north of its junction with Seal Road for a distance of 18 metres in a northerly direction. To note, representation supporting or objecting to the proposed order can be made via the following KCC's website until the 30th of March, and to decide whether the town council submit a formal response. There is a link there. I'm just looking around if anyone wants to make a formal response.
Until then,
Yeah,
if it's being done to improve safety at pickup time, it's immediately opposite the.
Yeah, so I don't think we need to-
Get very frustrated with the people parking on the exit to the road.
yeah, so that's okay.
Definitely, yes.
No, I don't think. Let's leave that. Oh, forget that one. Okay, so item 12, KCC, public consultation on proposed change to its public rights of way statement of priorities. Just a reminder that KCC is consulting on a proposed amendment to its statement of priorities for processing section 53 applications to record public rights of way. This includes prioritisation of user-based applications over historic applications to address backlog issues. We did this before. To note, all documents relevant to the consultation, including supporting documents and opportunity to comment, are available via following link. And to receive a minor planning committee on the 2nd of March, resolved to seek and defer to the opinion of the Seven Oaks Society due to its expertise in the area, which we did. Society has since confirmed its support of the proposal on the following grounds. Whilst the obvious answer is to increase resources to cope with the increased volume, we assume that is unlikely to happen. Therefore, the proposal is sensible, as 20-year user claims are likely to be more pressing than historical claims, and keeping those paths open to the public is very important. The current surge of historical claims, for the reason you explained, should not hold back user claims, so the plan to alternate them seems the best compromise. To consider and agree whether the Town Council endorsement of the Seven Oaks Society comments in its own response to the consultation. Yes, I'm getting nods here. Councillor Clay. I think we should respond and use their comments. Yeah, so I can propose that from the chair. Can we vote on that, please? All in favour? Thank you. Planning applications, it's been a long time coming. Councillor Willis, you're the first one, first floor, 8 Dorset Street.
Okay, so this is the installation of signs with lighting. The lighting is external to the sign, so it's like a little lantern that hangs down on the sign. Kent Highways have indicated they've got no problem with the signage, but it is in a conservation zone. The sign that's indicated on the planning thing is a bit bold and not really in keeping with the area. However, I think where possible, we should be seen to be supporting local business, particularly independent style retail. So, I mean, I've gone for approval, providing the planning officer is satisfied with design and lighting.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder? Thank you. Any debate? Yes.
I have not liked this sign since it went up about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's really not very lovely. It
Totally agree with that. I think it's more than that. I think it positively detracts from the conserv. I mean, this is the peak conservation area. It's a peak bit of.
This is a listed building.
Yes, yes. We were only discussing the application for the next door.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bit of a shocker, to be honest.
Is there any plans to show what the sign is going to be replaced with, or?
No, I think that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's been up for a while.
Yes.
I mean, it just.
So as I'm saying, I'm not a fan of the sign, but I am a fan of supporting local
know,
business, and I'd rather that than a derelict shop,
Um,
if that's what it comes down to.
oh no, so I realise I can't comment on an alternative because that's not
No.
here to do, so.
No, we can't comment on the alternative. Did you, Councillor Gate, did you want to?
I would be much happier if we said refusal.
That's fine. Yeah.
And made the comment that we do not believe these signs contribute. Well, we believe the signs as they are detrimental to a listed building in a conservation area. One of the oldest buildings in the town.
Are there any design guidelines for the conservation area that gives the person who owns it an idea of what might pass and what might not?
I agree.
I don't know.
Or do they have to put something in and guess?
Yeah, I was gonna say, it seems a bit harsh to say businesses can't use signage, that there must be an alternative to buildings so that you can still keep the building, in character and yet.
I think it's the green, isn't it?
Yeah.
If it was a black and white sign, I don't think it would be quite so difficult to.
But it's,
I know it's not
yeah,
their job,
we're
is
not.
it?
Councillor Shay?
I don't think there is design guidance to say what colour palette is here, so I'm
No,
not sure
I don't
that
know.
we're refusing it on those grounds. You know, we've got listed buildings up and down the high street conservation area that have red, green, blue signs. We have historically resisted internally lit ones.
Yeah.
But that's not internally lit. I'm not quite sure whether there is, as Councillor Dixon says, guidance that we can lean into.
I take your points, but you see the writing above entrance to the shambles. I don't think it would be on the wit of man to get a sign designed by a design agency with the brief to respect and enhance a listed building. I really think that is just about as poor as you could. I think that is not enhancing conservation areas.
That's a design guideline.
Yeah, to enhance it doesn't enhance it, positively unenhances it.
It's speculative, the designer might think they do. Did you have your hand up again, Count?
Yeah, I just might burst into to say this, and I know it's probably not relevant, but when you go and visit sort of very historical towns like Rye and places that have very sort of like Tudor buildings and very historical buildings, a lot of the time the signage that is actually protruding from the building so that it doesn't lay against the cladding, it comes away from the building so that actually it's more visible anyway, so that it protrudes outwards. That was just what I wanted to say. I know it's irrelevant, but I just want to mention it.
No, it's an interesting. Councillor Clayton?
This is really weird. You actually look at the history on the board. This application was submitted on Thursday, the 18th of April, 2024. And it's
Really?
just got to, it's been validated 26th of February 2026. So it is really weird. And I think, just thinking about it, I think somebody else said this, we probably shouldn't object to external lighting. But we should object to the sign. The sign is too big and too strident for the building on which it sits. And I think that was probably the best way to frame the objection.
Okay.
Other people who know about these things probably know better than me, but it is a seriously ugly sign. Too seriously ugly sign.
Actually, getting a facial there.
If it doesn't enhance, we are asked for our views. So if our view is that it doesn't enhance and it's to build it, then that's our view. We have a proposal though. Are you happy to amend your proposal?
I'm happy to amend, well, whatever the flow is. It's the same difference, isn't it? But so I'm happy either way. I have reservations about the sign myself, but I do think that we should be seen to be supporting businesses that are successful. And there are plenty of other signs on the high street that are pretty grim.
Okay, but this is too large. So Councillor Clayton, you were proposing refusal on the grounds that it doesn't enhance a listed building and its size is not in keeping or over too large and too strident. There we are.
But I think that I'm just trying to look at the history of this on the thing. It's been kicking around since, as I say, 2024, and the sign details were put in. It looks actually as if they put the thing up and then discovered they had to get permission.
Yeah.
Well, that's often the case, isn't it?
That's what it looks like.
But I think the owner has actually wrote a little note somewhere in there saying, I'm struggling with the paperwork, please help me type thing. And I think so.
But I think I would think sensible to say, wait a second, town council would have no objection to an externally illuminated sign on this, but take strong exception to the prominence and was it
Scale.
Yes,
stridency of the design on this listed building in a conservation area.
Okay.
If you wanted to go and put that on your own listed house, you get
Okay.
Does the application include that banner partly obscuring the entrance to the shambles sign?
No, it's just the green sign.
Very, very much.
It's just the green sign we're commenting on.
Yes.
Okay, so,
I do think it would be really useful for us as a town team to talk about signage, because there are several places in Sevenoaks. There's particularly the old the one on the London Road that used to sell all the sort of like KitchenAid and the hardware store. There's some very unsightly things in the window there that destroy the character of the building. So I think, shouldn't we have a say about what can constitute, keeping character within the high street or the main?
Councillor
We
McLeod?
have, I remember discussing this in the previous council, and we definitely said that we didn't like internally illuminated.
Yeah,
I remember
okay.
that, but I don't remember any guidelines on.
We can ask if there's any guidelines. Meanwhile, back to this planning application that we have to make comment on. We now have an amended proposal, seconded by councillor Clayton. If there's no further debate, can we vote on it, please? All in favour? Thank you. Right, moving on. Oh, this is one I did, 14 Bradbourne Park. Yeah, this is a single story rear extension. It's approximately 9 metres by 4 metres. It is single story, but it's right up to the boundary. There are no windows on the flank. It's a flat roof extension. The only windows and door are actually facing into the garden of the application. I don't really see any problems with it, but because it's difficult to scale anything from the drawings because they've actually been drawn by somebody. They're not a formal architect. It's great to see people drawing their own drawings, but I can't scale from them. So so I can't see if there's any overhanging from guttering. I don't think so, but I'm not sure. So my recommendation would be approval, providing the planning officer is satisfied there's no loss of amenity to the neighbour, with an informative to ask if certificate B is relevant in view of potential overhanging guttering on the flank that's right up against the boundary. So that would be my recommendation. Any debate? Can we vote then, please? All in favour? Thank you. That was quick. 3A we've done. And 4 we've done. Site of Tanglewood, Parkfield.
That's me.
Yes, it is.
Right, so this is an amendment to a planning application that was approved by SDC and SEC in 2023. Tanglewood is a currently vacant plot midway along the Parkfield on the north side. Vacant, the previous house having been demolished several years ago, and the fact that site has been boarded up and is overgrown, I think it's caused a great deal of aggravation to everybody living in the road. But there we are.
It's the name.
That's the name. So the plan in the approved plan in 2023 had replaced a whole series of plans to build a very contemporary house on this block, which caused the great deal of aggravation. The revised plan, which was approved, was for a neo-Georgian front to the house, and then more contemporary flat roofed buildings to the rear. And this application is to retain a Georgian front to the building, albeit with a modestly revised design, which I think is entirely uncontroversial, but to modify the temporary buildings to the rear. They were previously a mix of single story and double height. Those now it's all double height, but the effect is to reduce the footprint of the whole building. So the buildings to the back will occupy a smaller footprint. It's in the wilderness conservation area, but nothing around it is listed. And although most of the houses in the road are kind of arts and crafts, there are a number of houses that have been built that are sort of neo-Georgian. So I don't think there weren't any design issues when this was approved. I don't think there are any design issues still. And there's no comment from the conservation officer in any case. there is a slight wrinkle in the sense that most houses are built square to the road. This one is actually slightly at an angle. For whatever reason, that means that normally you wouldn't be able to see what's at the back. Here you can, to some extent, see what's at the back, and what's at the back has changed somewhat. But I don't personally think there is an issue. I don't think there are overlooking issues. The windows are only on the ground floor, and light above it is from louvers. I also don't think the slightly increased bulk is an issue, except possibly to the neighbour to the east. That building to the west is sort of built on right up to the boundary, but with no windows, no overlooking. And there are no objections currently from either neighbour or from the Wilderness Residents Association. So my recommendation is approval, subject to planning officer being satisfied that there are indeed no issues of overlooking or loss of amenity to the neighbours.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you. Any debate?
Just want to say, I think it's a pity in an area like this that you can't build a new modern classic and encourage new young architects, and you've got to have faux old buildings tending to be something now. End of comment.
Is there any reason for, is there any reason for that?
Pressure from the local neighbours. Recidivist bodies probably not.
Councillor Shay?
We've seen a lot of applications, all of them very, very different for this
Yeah.
site over the years. There was a very modern design at one point. I've just had quick trawl through to try and remind myself. There was a really modern design a few years ago, but this isn't it. I'm happy to second your proposal.
Okay. All right, moving on. Any further debate? Can we vote then, please? All in favour? Thank you. Carried. Councillor Willis, as reviewed, 10 Oak Lane.
Okay, so this is an application for demolition of a double garage and the erection of three one-bedroom flats on the site. So, Georgie, can you help me with there's some street elevation ones and there's a proposed site plan as well. That's it. So, yeah, both of those are really good. So I don't know if people know, as you come into town from up Oak Lane, it's the bit where it starts to go steeply up. It's quite an odd triangular plot with quite a steep slope, and then there's a footpath that goes up the hill towards the church. So yeah, we have about 2 or 3 years ago we approved some extension to the house already, quite a sizable extension, and so on. So there have been a few objections from members of the public. The 3 new flats built in front of the building will dominate the site. The street scene, size, proximity, it looks overbearing. It's not subservient to scale. And they request the reduction in height of the building. The planners have claimed they've tried to match it to the glebe, which is a block of flats opposite, but it's actually an old house converted into flats, and it's kind of hidden away in the tree. So I don't think that's relevant at all, to be honest. So my concerns really, I mean, whilst I'm pleased that there's building going on this plot, and I think it shouldn't be totally discouraged, I have real concerns about the tightness of the bend and cars coming out down the slope onto this property. Also, whilst it doesn't entirely encroach on the footpath, it gets very, very close, and I think that is an important footpath in the town. So I've got refusal on the grounds of overdevelopment, concerns about access to a very fast blind corner of Oak Lane, and concerns about the public footpath.
And the height.
Well, yeah, overdevelopment, yeah, height.
Height, scale, massing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would mention height.
Definitely mention height because some of the happy to second.
Out of proportion.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally a block of flats plonked in front of.
It's got an extra, got 1 story, 2.
Okay,
Yeah, at least.
I think that's the right recommendation, I think, in view of what the comments were on the portal as well.
Yes.
We are here to represent. Councillor Shay.
I'm intrigued in the description. It says that it's for the erection of 3 self-build 1-bedroom flats. Now, presumably nobody's going to come along and build their flats one on top of the other separately and individually. And we have seen the mechanism of self-build used by developers that build by plots and then sell off the plan, and it gets labelled as self-build, so that obligations around biodiversity net gain isn't passed on. And I wonder if we might add an informative to the effect that that is regrettable if that is the approach being taken here. It should be looked.
Happy to, yeah,
I mean, it could be a communal building. Flat each.
In which case, we register our concern and it goes away because we discover something else, but I am concerned about seeing,
We need to have it before we-
proposals come through for multiple properties on a self-build basis, when we have a town policy for biodiversity net gain.
yeah, I think that's a good informative. Happy with
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
okay. Right,
Can I ask about parking? So is there one parking space for each flat?
That's what's meant to be, but concerns have been raised about visitors and whatever else, because there is no alternative parking, because it's double yellow lines all the way
Right.
around there and so on. So that was another concern, but the main one is the height.
okay. Can we vote on that then, if there's no further debate, all in favour? Thank you, Gary. 30, the next one is 33 Binecourt Road, Councillor Payne.
Yes, this is very straightforward. We're planning to reorder the attic story of this very large detached house on Binecourt Road. And the external effects of the reordering are joining two existing front doors which look out straight onto the street, to slightly enlarge the front door at the side, which looks out over 35, take out the chimney stack at the back, and to rework the patio at the back. There are two dormers to join out front, but the appearance of Binecourt is virtually unchanged, but there's a link between them which is very small. The side dormer is slightly enlarged and moved close to the side wall of the house. There may be some risk of overlooking a window at number 35 next door, but probably not significantly more than at present, other than neighbour has no objection. The chimney stack is at the back, we can't see it, not one of the repeated chimneys, which is characteristic of the conservation. The patio does not affect any of the neighbours, so recommend approval, provided the conservation area. Once the conservation officer is content and the planning officer is satisfied, there is no additional overlooking of windows at number 55.
Thank you, do you have a seconder? Thank you. Any debate? Can we vote then, please, on that, all in favour? Thank you. Carried, still with you, councillor Fagan.
Right.
This man?
This one's more tricky.
Oh.
Would it be possible to put the elevation? This is a number 18 Wilkins Path is on the right as you go up. It's a private road, and most of the road in Mayo consists of thatched 1930s or classic vernacular houses. This is current thinking Wilkins Path as well. So this is a substantial remodelling and expansion of a detached 1930s house that extends the building sideways and backwards, so that it occupies most of the width of the plot. The existing 4-bedroom house is studying the lot, becomes a 5-bedroom house, and all the bedrooms have ensuite bathrooms, with a single story substantial extension at the back, the living space and the pavement. The style of the building will be transformed from a classic 1930s vernacular rendered single-fronted house to a double-fronted house with 2-story bays on either side of the front door, a pillared porch, and 2 attic dormers at the front, plus roof lights at the rear. And the extended rear single-story extended around 2 gables facing the garden, with a flat roof section in between, and the whole building would be rendered white. It's pretty. Oh, right. So we can see the original house there. And then you can see how it basically almost doubles in size.
Yeah.
Especially if you do the bit out the back.
You lose the garage.
Yeah, so you have to park up the house.
Okay.
That's not a problem, there's more drives we know what to do with.
Plenty of room there, isn't
Well, in addition, the extended house as proposed would be Sorry, the main impact of the expansion is on number 16 next door, on a lower level, so they're really sharp in the pictures. Attention brings the new part of number 8, or number 18 is 1 metre from the boundary, and it has a footprint longer than number 16, as is set further forward on the plot. There are 2 windows of living room on the ground floor of number 16, for which this extension would certainly, when that gives tell how makes it look as if there's lots of lovely greenery between them, there isn't. There's a very small gap between them.
Between the houses, the
Between the
neighbours.
houses. So this is to the south of number 16. You can see how
okay.
narrow it is there.
Yeah, very nice.
Number 16 there is on the left. And there are 2 windows of living room within the 6th room, which would absolutely fail the 45-degree test.
Okay, so,
And one of them is the dining room, and the other is a living room at the back. And there's also a bedroom window on the 1st floor, which might also fail the 45-degree test, given the fact that houses are on different levels.
okay, so your recommendation?
So, in addition, the extended house, as proposed, projects forward of number 16, so that it will also overshadow the bay window of number 16 in front, which is also in the dining room.
Okay.
So, there's light reduction all round for the dining room. And the extended house, as proposed, will be a much narrower gap between 18 and 16 than is normal for the road. There is out of keeping with the residential area character assessment for gaps through there. So, my recommendation is refusal on the following ground: loss of light to the neighbouring house at number 16, and a cramped development which overcrowds the neighbouring property without keeping with the residential area character assessment.
Thank you. Do you have a second then? Thank you. Any debate? I think it's fairly straightforward. That is quite big and it's quite close and it overshadows. And I agree with what you're saying about the light.
On a slightly wider plot, it would be a really nice design.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it's
It's just, it's so close.
sympathetic to the style of the.
Okay, I think that's probably the right recommendation. Any further debate? Can we vote then, please? All in favour? Thank you. Carried. Councillor Mick 27 Norway.
Thank you, Chair. So this application is for the removal of the conservatory, a new rear extension, replacement of dormers, new timber cladding, new roofing, extended raised terrace, landscaping, including new gates and walls and alterations to fenestration. It's a kind of big modernisation. It's the property right at the bottom of Norway, which is the cul-de-sac that abuts the Suffolk Way car park, which is kind of above it. I think we all know where it is. We looked at this application last year and recommended approval. It is a pleasant modernisation of a somewhat dated 1990s family home. However, the issue is with 2 substantial sycamore trees on the southern boundary. These trees both have TPOs and must be adequately protected by any renovations. There's also an important screen of trees in the back that shelter the back garden from the car park, but none of those have TPOs. So my recommendation is approval, provided the arboricultural officer is satisfied that the trees with TPOs are sufficiently protected.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you. Any debate?
And given the importance of this site, particularly with the development of the bypass, should we be saying something about the important screen of trees in the back as well?
Well, yes, I mean, it's interesting, yes, I think so, but there's been no comment.
But they're screening Mel Way from.
Yes. But the arboricultural officer made particular mention of these 2 substantial sycamores. I didn't actually, but I agree with you. I really, if it was my house, I would definitely.
I just think that given everything that's happening in that area, we need to put as much attention on the.
Do you want that as an
Yeah, very happy to have that.
Well, all we have as as part of the recommendation.
If you wish.
Like to.
Yeah, I'm sure the neighbours would be glad to see.
Okay, we'll add that in as well. protection measures for the TPOs and the hedge at the back.
Yeah.
Trees.
Just green.
Any further debate? Can we vote, please? All in favour? Thank you, carried. Then we've got councillor Bramwell, 11-6 Fowles Lane. Yes, you're gonna do that one?
So these are internal alterations, stud work, improvements to the bathroom, and slight alterations to the flooring as well. The house is in a conservation area, and whilst the sort of the changes seem eminently sensible, ultimately the conservation officer needs to be satisfied. So approval as long as the conservation officer says.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you. Any debate? Can we vote, please? All in favour? Thank you. Carried. Flat 1 to 10, Edenbury 4, Councillor Lane.
Oh, do you want me to deal with the detail on this? Because there is a letter, where am I? Approving the GCSE and knowing how to use these,
Replacement and enlargement of an existing first floor balcony.
yes.
Flat 9.
So. No, I'm on the wrong one, hang on, page set up here I have.
Flat 9. It's
I finally found it, thank you. Okay, the proposal is replacement and enlargement of an existing first floor balcony to flat 9 at Edenderry Court. Edenderry Court is a leasehold flat built before 1900 and the property offers, I don't know why I put that in. Like I'm selling it to you, just so I get this information. In this location, apartments of similar size usually have four bedrooms. Edenderry Court is situated on the corner of Serpentine Road and Bayham Road and accessed by Bayham Road. Based on a review of the Historic England National Heritage List, Edenderry Court, located on Bayham Road in Sevenoaks, is not listed as a building of special architectural or historic interest. The Heritage Impact Statement concludes that the impact is neutral. Next page. Okay. So the comment that I found in the planning application was from a neighbour who says my side windows are directly below the current balcony, which is wooden and rotting badly. The new larger structure proposed will move one of the supports further away from my windows, and neither of the supporting brackets will be visible from inside my flat. I consider the proposal to have a wrought iron balcony with ornamental supporting brackets to be aesthetically more pleasing viewed from outside, as well as more practical for occasional outside seating. Provided the additional weight of the new structure can be safely supported without major damage to the stonework of the south-facing wall, it is on, nor any damage to the internal wall of my flat directly below, I have no objection to this application. So I recommend approval, providing the building controls officer is satisfied with the construction and there are no issues regarding privacy to neighbours.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you.
I think this is actually an improvement on what's there at the moment.
Yeah.
It is actually a locally listed building.
Is it?
Yeah, locally listed.
Well, it's good that they're looking after it then.
It's something, I think it's actually something we need to do, what they're doing.
Well, that's great that they're doing that then. Okay, thank you. Any further debate? Can we vote then, please? All in favour? Thank you. Carried. Councillor Shelley, 190.
Yeah, sorry not to get this to you earlier, but it won't trouble us. About the 190 Field Road is one of the modern houses that take the Field Road just before you get to the cemetery gate for heading out towards Seam. It is one of the ones that faces the road. It currently has an integrated garage. The proposal is to turn that into living space to create a playroom. So the garage door will be replaced with light brickwork and windows, 2 windows on the front face. And there's also a proposal to Velluxes in the lower floor protrudes slightly ahead of the upper floor. So a couple of Velluxes in that's porch type roof, and the same at the back where there's another single story roof going back, and internal reconfiguration around it.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder? Thank you. Seems fairly straightforward, this one. If there's no debate, can we vote please? All in favour? Thank you. Carried. Back to the agenda and we have rescue. Yes.
But the letter which we're actually writing in the structure is confident that.
Okay, that's all. Councillor Shea, did you remember at all?
What's the press release? That was a great talk at the beginning of the meeting.
Yes. I was hoping so.
Was taking it out into the world.
Yes, absolutely, that does need to be out.
So much better with all me.
Well,
Not sure anyone outside this don't be.
I need some.
I think we expect it to be on the front page of the Economy. I was going to suggest Chris Wills as well, if you don't mind, which was about agenda item number 8, because I'm sorry, you might remind me of the name of the gentleman who chaired our transport strategy. I think it's John Morrison. Was like this.
yeah,
It's the Sample Route underneath road, which
Who championed this really hard, and it was in our
it was John.
And it-
Yes.
and it was in our SDNP, and we pushed and pushed for this because he honestly, he's not with us anymore. So.
No, it's John.
But he honestly believed this would change cycling in the town, being able to get from one part of the town to another without having to cross major roads. So this would never have happened without him and without our SDNP. I firmly believe that. So
Press release that as well.
First, it's
Really? Wow,
Only 20.
only 20. Right, any other press releases? That's 3 we have. Any other?
probably not.
That's probably enough at this time.
Nothing sounds.
Okay, that leaves for me to say thank you everyone. I close the meeting at 2024. Yes.
Yes.
Already bought. Already bought.
I've had a better offer. I mean, dinner with Princess Anne.